and welcome back. I want to give you guys an update regarding new home construction numbers in the US. This is because the US Census Bureau just announced a couple of days ago November's stats for new home construction numbers in the US. This was just announced on the 20th of December here. So I want to go over today's video regarding permits being pulled, units under construction right now, as well as housing starts, which, by the way, housing starts for building single family houses are tanking big time. So builders are really taking notice regarding rising rates, rising mortgage rates, and decreasing the number of houses that they're building right now. So here's the actual report from the US Census Bureau, again, just posted on December 20th for November stats here. So if you actually go to right here, so this table right here is looking at the number of permits being authorized. In other words, the builder submitted an application for a permit and they got approval. This is for single family as well as multi-family units. And by the way, these numbers here are based on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate and also in thousands of units as well. So total units authorized, which of course includes single family plus multifamily, was 1.3 million, 1,342,000 based on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate. That's a decrease of 11% compared to 1 month ago, and a decrease of 22.4% compared to November 2021. So a huge decrease in the number of permits being authorized right now. This is also for single family as well as multifamily though, because for single family, that decreased by 29.7% on a year-over-year basis, and for 5 units or more, declined by 10.7%. Also for single family houses, the biggest decreases compared to 1 year ago were in the Midwest, down 30.1%, and the West declining the most, down by almost 40% on a year-over-year basis. So we're seeing a huge decrease in the number of permits being authorized, both for single family as well as multifamily. When looking at year-to-date though, it's a little bit different though, because for single family, it's down 10.8% year-to-date, whereas for multifamily, for 5 units or more, is an increase of 14.4%. So an increase of 14.4% year-to-date for 5 units or more, whereas for single family, down almost 11%. And here's a look at Uncle Fred's website for units authorized for single family houses. So units authorized for single family have declined for 9 consecutive months ever since March of this year. On top of that, when looking at the past 5 years, the current levels right now at 781,000, again, that's a seasonally adjusted annualized rate. This is the lowest rate since May of 2020, when at that time it was 756,000. And on top of that, when looking at the past 10 years, have a look at this, because the current levels right now at 781 for permits being authorized in order to build houses. If you actually look at pre-COVID levels, we're at the lowest levels since November of 2016. This clearly is telling me that home builders are really pulling back on constructing single-family houses due to all the headwinds that home buyers are facing right now. Here's also a look at units authorized in which the builder has not started construction yet. In other words, the builder has an approved permit, so they can start construction, but they're opting not to. So the changes here are a little bit different compared to single family versus multifamily. So for single family houses, that number here decreased by 4% on a year-over-year basis. Whereas for 5 units or more, look at that, increased 28.9%. So it appears that builders are getting permits authorized in order to build apartment buildings, for example, because the vast majority of these 5 units or more are apartment buildings in order to rent out. So they're getting authorization to get permits authorized, but they're not starting construction right now because units authorized but not yet started have increased almost 29% on a year-over-year basis for 5 units or more. Let's have a look at housing starts in the US. And by the way, a housing start is a beginning phase of the construction of a brand new house. That's a housing start. And these are in thousands of units, and they're also seasonally adjusted annualized rates. So total housing starts, which of course includes single family plus multifamily, decreased 16.4% from 12 months ago. But for single family houses, it's down a whopping 32% for housing starts. Whereas for multifamily, 5 units or more, that increased 24.5%. So housing starts for multifamily are much, much higher compared to single family, down by 32.1%. So right now there's approximately 828,000 housing starts for November on an annualized rate right here. Compared to 5 units or more, it's 584,000. Again, this is really telling that home builders are really more focused on building multifamily properties versus single family properties right now. Let's have a look at Uncle Fred's website right here for housing starts of single family houses. Again, the analyzed rate right now is 828,000. As you can see right here, over the past year, housing starts for single family have decreased in 8 out of the last 9 months. On top of that, when looking at the past 5 years, the current levels right now at 828,000 is at the lowest levels since May of 2020, when at that time there was 750,000. Additionally, when looking at data from pre-COVID levels, we're at the lowest levels since February of 2019, when at that time there was 777,000 single-family housing starts on an annualized basis. Housing starts for single-family houses vary greatly depending on the region we're looking at as well. So the big decrease of 32.1% is mainly driven by the huge decreases in the Midwest, the South, and the West, all declining by over 29%. The Midwest declined by 29.9% on a year-over-year basis. The South declined by almost 34%. And the West declining by almost 36%. Let's also have a look at the number of units under construction right now, because this varies greatly as well depending on single family versus multifamily. These again are in thousands of units and they're seasonally adjusted but not on an annualized basis. These are actual numbers that are just seasonally adjusted here. So for single family, there's approximately 777,000 single-family houses under construction right now, and that's an increase of only 2.9% from 1 year ago. Whereas for multifamily, for 5 units or more, again, the vast majority of these are apartment buildings in order to rent out. That increased 26.2% on a year-over-year basis here. So this increase of the number of units under construction up by 14.5% is mainly driven by the huge increase of 5 units or more. And here's a look at single family houses under construction on Uncle Fred's website right here. So there's approximately 777,000 single family houses under construction, and this has been declining for the past 6 months in a row. In other words, the number of units under construction have been declining ever since June of this year. And here's a look at housing units under construction ever since 2006. When looking at current levels right now, pre-COVID, we're at the highest levels since approximately January of 2007, when at that time, there was approximately 779,000 single-family houses under construction. When looking at multifamily though, it's entirely different though, because look at this. Here's the number of units under construction for 5 units or more over the past year. Has been more or less increasing every single month this year. Looking at the past 5 years though, look at this huge increase ever since really July of this year, increasing big time through July this year. Also have a look at this. This is going back to 1970. The current levels right now at 915,000 units under construction of 5 units or more are the highest levels on record going back to at least 1970. Let's also have a look at the number of units completed. In other words, the construction has been completed for houses here. Let's look at single family, increased by 9.9% from 1 year ago, and increased by 9.5% compared to October 2022. For 5 units or more, it decreased by 3.2% on a year-over-year basis, whereas compared to last month, it increased by 15.9%. And this increase of 9.9% for single-family houses that have been completed is mainly driven by a huge increase in the Northeast, up by 11.5%, and the South increasing by 20.2%. Whereas in the Midwest, for single-family, it decreased by 6%, and the West declined by 4.1% compared to 12 months ago. So I know that was a lot of information to go over in today's video. Let me provide a very quick summary for you guys. So for units authorized, in other words, permits being approved, we're seeing a huge decrease of both for multifamily, both for multifamily as well as single family, declining by double digits compared to 1 year ago. That's permits being authorized. What we're also seeing though is that units are being authorized but not yet started, or the construction's not starting for multifamily, up by almost 29% from 12 months ago. So builders have permits being authorized for multifamily, but they're opting not to start construction. That increased by almost 29% from 12 months ago. Also for housing starts, a huge decrease of single family, down by 32%, whereas for multifamily, just the opposite, increasing by 24.5%. So builders really pulling back on getting authorization for permits for single family, down by 29.7%, but also for housing starts as well, down by 32.1%. Also for houses under construction, that only increased by 2.9% for single family, whereas we saw a huge increase by 26.2% for multifamily. And at 915,000, this is an all-time record high, going back as far as the data goes, back to 1970. And with that said, please comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you guys got any value of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that, and I appreciate you, of course, as well. Hope you guys have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.